Summertime is winding down, and the campus at West Virginia University is buzzing with excitement for the return of high-octane Mountaineers football because Rich Rod is back. The homecoming of Coach Rich Rodriguez sparks a fire in the Mountaineers faithful eager to win. Today, Coach joins J-Fred to talk about his plans to return the Mountaineers to national prominence. It's a special sports edition of the John Fredericks Show on the Mountaineers flagship WVTheTorch in partnership with WVSportsNation.com and all across the John Fredericks Media Network. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
You're on a special edition of the John Fredericks Radio Network. Oddly enough, with technology, I am live in Israel. I'm with Logan Powell of West Virginia Sports Network. Just go to WVSportsNation.com, WVSportsNation.com. You can read all about him there. And we have 8 writers. We cover West Virginia University athletics like nobody's tomorrow. You want to bookmark it, no paywall. It's free. We got the best writers, best coverage. If you're college football, college baseball, college sports fan, especially if you're a WVU fan, you got one place to go, and that's WVSportsNation.com, WVSportsNation.com. This is a special edition. We've got newly minted coach, kind of old, now new, Rich Rodriguez. Coach Rodriguez coming up in a few minutes to join us, Rod, in an exclusive interview here on WV Sports Nation, and all you have to do is download our app to get all the games and everything else. We are the flagship of West Virginia. Just go to WVTheTorch.com, WVTheTorch.com, and everything is right there. So Rich Rod coming up in a couple of minutes. He'll be interviewed by myself and Logan Powell, one of our correspondents at WSportsNation.com, also one of our contributors on Godzilla Wins, which runs Saturday, 9 to 11 a.m. Of course, we're schooling the Zoomers and millennials on how to pick games, but one day maybe he'll be able to pick a winner. Logan, it's good to have you with us. This is going to be a cool interview here with Rich Rod because we're the flagship, and we're going to be asking him some very tough questions about the season coming up. And Logan, you're the perfect guy for this with me because you've been breaking down every aspect from practice of their game: receivers, running backs, O-line, D-line,
yes,
linebackers, defensive backs,
yes, sir.
quarterbacks, the whole thing.
Over these,
what do you say?
Over this fall camp, I've been covering every single day, keeping updated on WVSportsNation.com. And honestly, Rich Rodriguez has kept it honest every single day. If there's a question about the depth chart, he's shutting it down. If there's a question about who's the starting quarterback, who's the starting receiver, he's shutting it down. He's only worried about the overall depth chart. He's only worried about the overall state of the team. He's not worried about a specific player in mind. He's just looking at his overall roster and trying to find what works best and who are the 12 to 15 players that he can win with on both sides of the field.
You know, one of the key things that we're going to ask him is he came here and he said toughness is going to be the key. We have to get tough. We have to play a different brand of football. And he was bitterly complaining in a couple of the practices that he didn't really see that culture coming into play. And he saw a lot of pancake softness, as you say, kind of waffly, kind of powder puffy. What was your reaction to his comment?
Coach Rodriguez,
on
he expects toughness. That's the only thing he wants. He wants toughness. He wants you to play hard each and every day. And right now, in this early part of camp, some of the players haven't been showing that, and a lot of the running backs specifically have been sitting out. Some have been injured, and honestly, Rich Rod, he demands excellence, and it's going to take some time. It's in his first year. It's a whole new roster. It's going to take time to develop, but when it happens, it's going to be something special to watch. And Mountaineer fans have already seen it back about 20 years ago, and they know what to expect. And this team, this new roster that Rich Rod has come into, they're going to expect and figure out sooner rather than later.
You've covered the practices, and you did a breakdown, which I thought was outstanding, on WVSportsNation.com on basically what you thought were the strong points and the weak points of the team based on practice. Let's go with the positive, then go to the negative. Strongest things that you saw on this
right now, I would say
club.
the strongest overall is the defense. The defense, if you're a Mountaineer fan, you know last year was not very good, especially in the secondary. Now this year, only a year later, new defense coordinator Zach Alley was able to bring in a lot of good pieces, especially in the cornerback room, that's going to allow the defense to play in that more multiple set that Coach Alley wants to run. And also the defensive line got a lot better. So you're going to see a lot more rushing the passer, and you're going to see a lot more guarding those deep passes where the Mountaineers last year just struggled so much. So I think the defense as a whole got a lot better over this season.
And what do you think is the weakest part of this team right now?
I would have to say the wide receiver room. I've heard some rumblings that, there are some good pieces. There are some very good pieces in that wide receiver room. But as a whole, that is a worry of concern that I have, just because it's a lot of unprovenness. You have a Oklahoma State transfer in Jaden Bray, who's been injured most of his career. He's coming in as a senior. But if he can stay healthy, he will be a really good deep threat. But then you have other guys that just haven't shown enough yet in their collegiate career, then they're going to have to be forced to this year. So I think right now that wide receiver room is a lot of unproven, but potential to be really, really good.
Rich Rod was really banging on the running backs in a couple of these practices. In fact, there was one report that you had I guess, one of the practices, and he was like, I could get some more running backs in the portal. Is it too late? And he said that, publicly on the field. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, right now the running backs, that's like one of the most important, if not the most important part of Rich Rod's offense. So that needs to be on par with what he expects. And yesterday's practice was the first time all 5 running backs actually participated. So that's good signs for the future. But, in previous practices, a lot of them were sitting out. You only really had 2 playing. So that's not good whatsoever. And as we get closer to game day, against Robert Morris, you're going to have to see those running backs get more into the fray and get their legs under them so they can be ready for that first game.
The first 2 games are going to be big. Obviously, you're going to beat Robert Morris, right? I mean, it's basically not a legit D1 school at our level. So you're going to beat Robert Morris opening game at home August 30th. So you want to check that out. All the information, go to WVSportsNation.com. And so you want to check into that. It's the second game before the Backyard Brawl that has some people nervous, and that's Ohio. And you pointed out early when you're doing the previews that this is not a team on the road to take.
No, not at all. Ohio is a very solid mid-major school. And Athens, Ohio is a tough place to play. And I've already seen reports that's already been sold out. So it's going to be a rocking house. Those fans are going to be hungry. The players are going to be hungry. Anytime now, especially in this NIL era, whenever you see these mid-majors, they have something to prove. They're looking to next year. They're looking to hopefully get a bigger contract with a bigger school like WVU. So these players are going to be hungry. And it has trap game written all over it. Right before Pitt, Backyard Brawl, everyone's going to be buzzing. You got to worry about Ohio first. This is a team that could definitely spoil the Mountaineers early part of the season.
Okay, I understand we've got Rich Rod in right now. Coach Rich Rodriguez. Let me start out by welcoming Coach Rodriguez to us. And this segment is brought to you by Middletown Tractor in Fairmont. Since 1952, Middletown Tractor in Fairmont, West Virginia has been your trusted source for top quality equipment. As the oldest John Deere dealer in West Virginia, they offer tractors, mowers, and more from brands like Stihl and Honda. From homeowners to farmers, their family-owned business delivers superior products at affordable prices. Now visit them off I-79, exit 133 for new and pre-owned equipment, parts, and expert service. With over 100 years of combined experience, we're here to help, and they're here to help you tackle any job. Make your main factor Middletown Tractor. Call them anytime, 304-366-4690, 304-366-4690, or go to MiddletownTractor.com, MiddletownTractor.com. Big fans of West Virginia Mountaineers and Coach Rich Rodriguez. Coach Rich Rodriguez,
thanks for having me.
With us,
Good to catch up with you guys.
All right. Great to have you on your flagship network, sir, WVTheTorch. Let's get right to it. You made toughness, sir, your number one priority and your team identity for 2025. You've been vocal and critical at times in public practice of a level of softness that you've seen that didn't meet your expectations. How is your toughness at?
Well, I think it's typical of a lot of programs now that maybe, you know, your program, your guys aren't as physically or mentally tough as you would like them to be, and so you got to establish a certain type of culture. Our guys have really done a great job adapting, and it's not like you're beating the crap out of each other every day and see who's surviving. We just have a standard or an expectation on this is how you have to play the game of football. You know, you can't be lazy and you can't be soft, and those are two things that if that happens, we have to correct. And to our players' credit, they've done a great job of getting better and better and better with that. But it's something that we have to live every day.
Coach, last year with Jack State, you ran the ball 65% of the time and were very successful, considering your offense was number 4 in the nation with 252 yards per game in that category. Is that something you plan to continue here with West Virginia? Run the ball.
Yeah, if we can run it that well, we certainly will. I think it's easy to control the game, you know, the time of the game, the outcome of the game when you can run the football. I mean, I always said if you threw for 500 or ran for 500, that's both great. But when you run for 500 on somebody, it's demoralizing. It's, you know, the whole program takes a look and say, oh my gosh. So, you know, you like to be able to do that. But at the end of the day, we got to do what our players do well and how teams are defending. So they're going to load the box up and force us to throw. We got to be able to execute in the throw game. And you got to have quarterbacks and receivers that can, you know, that can execute that part of it. And I think we have that. Then inevitably, you know, within the next maybe 7 or 8 days, we'll sit down and say, this is what we do really well, or what we think we could do really well, and that's what we'll feature all season.
Coach, you coached alongside Zach Alley at Louisiana Monroe in 2021, and then you brought him along with you at Jacksonville State. What is it about him that has made you want to bring him along for a second time now at West Virginia?
Yeah, I love coaching with Zach. We got to know each other. I didn't know him until we were at Louisiana Monroe together. He did a great job there in a tough situation for all of us. And then I think at Jack State, he was the first guy I hired there. He did a great job for us there. And then I knew when he came to see me after we won our bowl game 2 years ago, and he said he got a job offer from Oklahoma. And I'm like, oh, gosh, are they going to let you call the plays yet? And I'm like, what are they going to pay you? And he said 1 point something million. I'm like, why are you waiting on? You better get on that plane. And so, you know, he went there, and I thought he did a great job at Oklahoma last year. And then when I got this job, you know, he was one of the first people I called and said, hey, I'm in a different place now. You know, Kim, would you be interested in coming back? And he's an outstanding coach. He does a really good job for a young guy too. Really good job of getting the defensive staff in total agreement on how we're going to go about doing things and all that. So I'm involved in everything that we do, but I don't worry about calling the defense because Zach's got that under control.
Okay. And when you look at your roster, I know you don't like talking about depth chart or who's, you know, starting and where specific position, but what excites you about the roster this year exactly?
Well, I'm excited because we have so many bodies to look at that haven't played. There's not one guy on defense that started for West Virginia last year. So it's kind of an all new, and we brought a bunch of guys in, more portal guys than we probably will going forward. We'll have more high school guys next year than portal guys probably. But there's a whole bunch of guys came from different programs, and we didn't, you know, you think with that large of a mix of guys that, you know, it might be hard to establish the kind of culture or the attitude that you want, but it, you know, and I've yelled a lot, and we've gotten after them pretty good, but they've been a great group to buy into what we're doing. I'm really pleased with that, what they've done as far as coming in. And there's some older guys, which you would hope that wherever they were at, they were getting coached. You know, whatever college program they were at, whatever, they were getting coached. They were working out with strength staff and all that. So it wasn't like we're getting a bunch of 17-year-old freshmen coming in. But they had to learn a different system, had to learn a different way of practice because how we practice is different than most people, and they've done a good job at that.
Coach, obviously, you know, with a new roster like this operating out of the portal system, you don't know what you're going to get, right? You watch the film, you recruit them, you give them a package, they come to West Virginia University. You know, now you've had some considerable time with them, film rooms, evaluation. As you look at this team right now, What is your biggest concern? What is it that keeps you up at night?
Well, everything keeps me up at night right now, but you think, that you hope you did a good job evaluating first before you bring them on campus. And you're going to make mistakes. We made some mistakes, but you better hit on more than you miss, right? And if you're going to pay the guys, which we're paying them a little bit, you better pay the right guys. You better pay the right guys the right amount. You don't want to overpay for a guy that ain't playing and all that kind of stuff. So I think from that's a roster management kind of standpoint. From an attitude, from an effort standpoint, from a teaching standpoint and all that, all the guys knew that everybody's a freshman in the system. This is our first year here. Other than a handful of guys from Jack State that played either under Zach or played in our offense, everybody else this is all brand new to them. So we've really tried to make it so where everybody felt they had an opportunity, which they have. And it's been really competitive. And that's the good part about what's happening now is everything is really competitive in practice. So hopefully it makes guys stand out.
Coach, when you look at that schedule, I know that third game of the year really sticks out. Now, I know you have Robert Morris and Ohio to focus on beforehand, but what are your feelings and expectations for the Backyard Brawl considering the current contract expires after this season?
Yeah, I don't worry about the contract in the future. And, we're not talking about, this summer we did self-scout and opponent scout, for a few days. Coaches did this summer, but during camp, it's just all us. And it'll be all us again for the next week. And then we'll get ready for our first week. So we're not looking at pit stuff. Now we're not going to look at pit stuff when we get ready for our first game of the season. That's, people talk about, you got to get ready. That's an easy game to get your guys up for. Now, scheme-wise and all that kind of stuff, we did some of that stuff in the summer, but, as far as like mentally, are you going to be ready mentally to play them? Hell, are you kidding me? I mean, that kind of rivalry, that's an easy game for your guys to get juiced up for.
Coach Rich Rod, let me ask you this. You're now coaching in a new NCAA system, right? We had the lawsuit settled. We have a new platform. It's kind of pay to play, however you want to say it.
Sure.
How have you navigated your way through the changes in culture from how long you've been coaching, and now it's changed where you go in the portal, they want money, they want to get paid, they want a scholarship, obviously, but then you've also got the NIL money. How have you navigated your way?
Yeah.
Through?
The hardest part is the goalposts keep moving. You think the rules are set this way, then it's supposed to be set that way, and then the goalposts move again. And if you want to win and you're competitive, you'll adapt to the rules. So, like, they thought everything was kind of maybe under control now with the rev share and the NIL have to be checked out by this AI thing through the NCAA, but now that's getting challenged again, which I knew it was going to be. So it's still not fixed. And until we get, I don't know, this is my personal opinion, that I don't know how you could pay a guy, hundreds of thousands of dollars and not be an employee. So to me, they got to have group together, have a CBA, bargain everything out, just like the NFL. In my opinion, college athletics needs, or at least college football, needs to model the NFL as well as we can. Now, there's a different component because you got education and college rules and stuff like that, but they've got it figured out. And college football needs to get it figured out so there's some equity and some fairness involved. But I can sit here and complain about it and throw my hands up, or I can say, tell me what the rules are, and then how can we use those rules and win? Money helps, all right, but we want to know what the rules are, and then we go at it from there.
Coach, so you've got a player, you pay him a lot of money. I'm not going to name any of them because that's all over the board, but you got somebody that you paid a lot of money and he's not performing on the field, but you got a lot of money invested in him. What do you do? Well,
when his contract comes up next year, he's going to have a new contract, or he's going to be somewhere else. That's the danger. Like, these kids don't have multi-year contracts. Some of them do now. Some of them are having multi-year contracts, whatever. But I think part of it, if you made a mistake and you overpaid a guy, is it because he's not ready yet? Have you not done a good job coaching him and getting him into your system? You got to look at yourself first and your program first. And then is the guy not performing because he's not giving the effort? Now that's a different thing. And so it's funny because people say, well, how do you coach him now? because they're getting paid. And when it's hard to coach them, I'm like, hell, that makes it easier to coach them. They got more to lose. You know what I mean? And every 90% of them are on their contract year because they got a 1-year deal. So, you know, they all know if they become a starter or a really good player, an all-league player, they're probably going to get bumped up. So there's a lot of ways which that in itself should serve as motivation for them. But I hope, and I truly hope that the guys aren't playing just to see what they could get paid. They're playing because they want to be really good and win. And that's the thing that we stress all the time is that, you know, every decision that I make as a head coach is based on, does it help us win? And I want our players to think the same thing.
Final question, because I know you got to go. And I really, Logan and I and all of us on WVSportsNation.com, WVTheTorch, and our listeners across the country appreciate the time you've given us today. Define a successful season, right? It's December. Season is over sometime in December or maybe January. Define in your mind what is going to be a successful 2025 for West Virginia Mountaineers.
Yeah, that's a good loaded question. It really is. And it's a fair question because how do you, like, I've never really worried about defining it until you get established. But I think, you know, every year your first goal is to win the league championship. If we're not competing for it, you know, in later in the year, in November, whenever it comes up, if we're not in the mix and competing for a league championship, then it wasn't a good year. And that's asking a lot, I know, with the 70-some new players and 2 returning starters or what have you. But, you know, we don't talk about it a lot because, you know, we'd rather just work. But, you know, our goal is to win the league championship. And if you win the league championship, you're in the playoff. So it's all good.
All right. Coach Rich Rodriguez, West Virginia Mountaineer football, first year. How many of your players are new, right? 95%? Your roster?
Yeah. 72 are brand new. All right. I think we have a total of 115 guys, whatever it is. 90 of them is the first time they're putting on a uniform for West Virginia. So,
I mean, that is like 90% of your players are
crazy.
brand new. That is crazy. I mean, that is insane. I mean, if you guys can win 5 or 6 games with that, and there's no culture. The culture is whatever you're making it now. So I guess that's good news. You don't have to break any bad habits. Yeah. But I mean, I just want our fans to understand the chat having 90%, Logan, of his roster is brand new, not only to the program and to Coach Rodriguez, but to West Virginia University, the state, Morgantown. It's all new, Logan.
All new.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, most of them weren't even starters. Really, Jaheim White was the only starter last year. I mean, you had Eddie V, who was injured early in the season. He was a starter, but he didn't play much. Right. And then you got like Reed Carrigo. He was a primary backup at middle linebacker position, but now this year he might have to step up and take on a bigger role. So there's just so many different positions in this year's roster that last year it's just completely different. And then you move into this year, it's just all on the fly, new coaching staff, completely new coaching staff, pretty much a whole new roster, players from everywhere. It's definitely going to be a challenging season, but with Rich Rodriguez back at the helm, I'm sure the Mountaineer fans are certainly excited.
Well, I'm not getting much sleep, but I'm hoping that people at least see us play hard. So we'll have some fun.
Coach, thank you. You have the best job in the country, but also the toughest job in the country all in one. I don't know how we combine that. Yeah. But for all of our fans out there at Mountaineer Nation, you got to show some patience with this team. I'm telling you, they're going to get better every single week. They're going to continue to improve and get better. And that's what you have to look for week in and week out. And Coach Rodriguez, we're very excited that you're back here in Motown. Thanks for coming, rebuilding this team basically from the bottom up and changing everything. It's going to be season, sir.
Appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. See you guys.
All right. Logan and I will stay a minute. Great interview with Coach Rich Rod. You know, to hear him talk, when you break it down, Logan, and you say 90% of your players came from somewhere else. right? They don't even know the university, the culture, Morgantown, West Virginia. They've never been there. They don't know what it is. And, look, I had a son that played ball there for 2 seasons. Now we transferred to Maryland. But, we had never been to West Virginia ever until he got there. And so there's a transition you have to make. You have to get accustomed to the culture, the people, the fans, and things of that nature. And to get 90% of them new, and there's no mentors. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
They got to lean on the coaches. There's no when Joe got there as a freshman pitcher, he had mentors, right? There for a long period. He had, first of all, Maisie, who was there for a 15-year period, but then he had people like Grant Hussey, and he had, people of that nature that had been there for a while, that understood Save, they understood the culture, they understood the city. Rich Rod doesn't have that.
No, he's pretty much having to lean on his coaching staff because, like you said, John, many of these players on this roster are just completely new. They're new to the school, they're new to each other, and there's a handful that went from Jacksonville State. They can band together and they can kind of show how Rich Rodriguez wants things to be done, which is very valuable. But it doesn't matter. It's a whole new team. It's a whole new conference. You're going from Jacksonville State Power 5 to WVU Power 4, Big 12. A lot more money involved, a lot more fans involved. It's just everything is to a greater magnitude when you go from Power 5 to Power 4. And also, a lot of these players are coming from exactly that. You have guys that are coming from schools that were of the smaller caliber. Now, they played really well there, but when you move up to the bigger leagues, so they say, it all changes. And when they're all coming together all at once, it can either go really good or it can tumble all the way down. And it's going to be an exciting season just because of that.
All right, so I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think they start the season 3-0.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think they beat Robert Morris. I think they go to that's going to gain them confidence. I think they go to Ohio. That's going to be a great game.
It is.
That's going to be the best early game before the Backyard Brawl. And I'm glad, I'm glad that was scheduled this way, because if you play 2 powder puffs and then you have to play Pitt, forget about it. It's too tough. So they play basically a game which is kind of a, come on, it's a glorified scrimmage. Okay. They're not going to get beat by Robert Morris. Bigger, stronger, faster, whole bit. But then they go to this Ohio team, which you mentioned earlier, Logan. This is one scary team. Sold out, hungry, nasty, wants to knock Rodriguez right in the teeth, wants to be able to say, tough my butt. Here's who's tough. But if they win that game, then we get home against Pitt. I love our chance.
Pitt's got a really good team this year. Let's not get it twisted. They have Eli Holstein coming back. He's going to be in his sophomore year. You have Desmond Reed at running back. They have a really good team. Defense is really good. However, if you see what's behind me, this is going to be rocking against that Pitt game. I just don't see the Mountaineers losing with all this behind me, because the aura, the energy is going to be unmatched. Rich Rodriguez back in the Backyard Brawl. What else do you want? That is going to feed families. That is going to sell out tickets. Already sold out season tickets. This game is going to be absolutely amazing. College Game Day might be there. It's going to be exciting, especially if WVU is already 2-0.
There's something about the guy, right? Just even in this interview with him, there's something about the guy that you just, he inspires you. He gives you confidence. I mean, we got a lot of straight answers. We didn't get the typical gobbledygook you get from coaches. I don't get that from Saban's either. So both of them are like standouts, because I don't get that from Steve either. But, some of them you get the, national TV, ESPN. Yeah. You get the typical gobbledygook, spin stuff and word salads. And we didn't get that from him. He was pretty candid, I thought. But there's something about the guy. Like, you just got to pay attention.
Yeah, he's a straight shooter. He was there whenever he was there originally at WVU from 2001 to 2007 to now. He hasn't changed. He's only developed and gotten better each year. He says himself, I mean, if you start at one point and then you go 20 years later, you have to get better each year. Or if you're not getting better, what are you doing? He has developed and evolved as a person year in and year out. And now at WVU 20 years later, he's ready to bring him back to where he left off. And that was close to some pretty high national prowess with WVU before he left for Michigan. So if he can get anywhere close to that.
The other thing I love, the other thing I love about what's happened here is, I mean, one of our questions was, hey, you've been coaching a long time, dude. And now you got to navigate your way through this NCAA and this pay to play and NIL money and portal and this and that. And he got like 90 guys out of the portal. 90. I mean, you are the poster child. You talk about Sabans in baseball getting people out of the portal. Sorry, Steve, you got like 15. This guy got 90. So like, sorry. He got 90 guys out of the portal. So he's like the portal poster child. That's how he built his entire roster. So not only has he navigated his way through it, he's mastered.
Yeah, I would say for this, he also had to this year. I mean, he came in so late and so many other players left because of it. They had to go through the transfer portal. Now, he already mentioned next year, those numbers will be down a lot more and they'll go at more high school guys. But for this year, all the transfer guys coming together, they all want to play. A lot of them only have 1 year left. It's going to be crazy. I mean, like I said, it could be really, really good or it could go down the hill. I mean, it could go either way. But with Rich Rod at the helm, he's going to have these guys playing right. He's going to have them playing hard. He's not going to sugarcoat anything, not anything to us, not to his players.
No.
You got to respect that as a fan, as a player, as a coach, and as an administrator of the school. He's not going to sugarcoat. He's going to say it how it is, and he's going to play the way he wants to play.
You know, the other answer I love, which I thought was really insightful. I haven't really thought of this. When he asked about, you're paying a guy, $250,000 and he's not performing and you got to sit him on the bench, but you got all this money invested into him. He had the best answer to that. He said, they're all on a 1-year contract. So basically, if you don't perform, see ya. I'm going to have to eat the money now, but you're not coming back and you're certainly not getting that. So he said the flip side of that is everybody is in a, what do you call it? A free agent season. Everybody's in a free agent year. So you perform or you're not going to get any money.
I mean,
so he's turned it around.
I mean, there's cases of, people signing, 3 or 4 year contracts, but for the most part, it's 1 year deals. And like Rich Rod said, I mean, it's perfect. If they fail, okay, they eat it for the year, you move on, you find someone else. If they perform really well, perform higher to their standard, you reevaluate it in the offseason, maybe give them a 2-year deal with some more money. I think the 1-year deals really provide them a lot of cushion and a lot of, stability to like, okay, this guy, we need him to be good this year. But as the season goes on, he's not doing that. Okay, we know that we can let go of him after the year and we can move on and find someone else.
All right. Logan Powell, you can read Logan. He's our football guy. We got a lot of football guys, but this is all stems from the greatest West Virginia sports news site in the history of Mountaineer football, of Mountaineer athletics at all, which is WVSportsNation.com, WVSportsNation.com. There you can read Logan Powell. You can read Mitch Rogers. You can read Jonathan Edwards. You can read Trent Connor. It goes on and on and on. And it's a great site. Bookmark it, go there. Our football coverage is going to blow you away. Plus, WVTheTorch.com, WVTheTorch. We are the flagship of West Virginia University, carried on our 9 stations here in West Virginia. And this segment has been brought to you by our great friends at Hope Gas. Now, Hope Gas proudly provides safe and reliable natural gas service to approximately 150,000 homes and businesses throughout the Mountain State, including our 9 stations. Thank you. Now, they proudly serve West Virginia. They're a great company with great people that care about your every energy need. For more information, the West Virginia way, go to hopegas.com. That's hopegas.com. For Logan Powell on WVSportsNation.com, I'm John Fredericks. This has been a special edition of WVTheTorch.com and the John Fredericks Radio Network. I'm live in Israel. This way technology is. It's actually 7:48 p.m. here. Just got back in time. Logan, of course, in Morgantown,